Thanks for joining us on 12news.com as we are in a bit of a high wire act right now, dealing with some numbers that have come in from Maricopa County. Not the drop that we were expecting in terms of size and amount of ballots. We were looking at what, 60,000 or so?
Well, tonight what we're going to show you are numbers that have come in the last hour or so from both Pima County and Maricopa County. About 13,000 ballots counted from Pima, about 65,000 ballots counted from Maricopa. Not a large drop when you consider there are about 650,000 ballots outstanding statewide, most of them in Pima and Maricopa counties. Still, you're going to see some change tonight in the results, generally favoring the Democratic candidates.
Yeah, a little bit of a bump for them. And these are the late early ballots, as they say, the ones that would have been dropped off or arrived at the election center past the cutoff time for when ballots were already processed on Tuesday. And so what we're seeing is a slight bump here for Katie Hobbs with this latest batch.
Yeah, this shows Katie Hobbs up, let's see, with the lead of 13,000 votes, a little less than 13,000 votes. She is now up 0.6 percentage points. She was up 0.2 of a point after the ballots, there was the large ballot drops yesterday and overnight. So slightly increasing her lead to 0.6 of a point from 0.2 of a point over Kari Lake.
Yeah, so she now is up just over 13,000 votes over Kari Lake.
That's a net gain of 10,000 votes for the day.
Got it, for the day. And this was a day when the county was doing a lot of preps as well. There's signature verifications that take place, and the real work we can assume will be tomorrow into Friday and possibly later.
Yeah, typically the Wednesday after the election is kind of a setup day where they see what they have, they organize the ballots, they will put out a count of several thousand, tens of thousands of votes, and as Joe said, it'll really get going Thursday, and they say 95 to 99% of the ballots in Maricopa County should be counted by Friday night. So, U.S. Senate race now?
Yeah, moving on to the Senate race. There you see Mark Kelly also got a little nudge there. He's now at 51.4% compared to Blake Masters' 46.4%. So Kelly gained about 34,000 votes, a plus 7,000 or so gain on Masters.
Yeah, Kelly was up 4.5 points at the beginning of the day. He is now up by a full 5 points as of right now after the Pima and Maricopa County ballot drops.
And again, these were voters that were expected to probably lean more Democrat. As we know, the MAGA voters and many Republican voters were told not necessarily to trust the mail-in system, so they did not mail in their ballots. And they were mostly told to show up on Election Day only. And so that's one reason why we are expecting these ballots to trend towards the Democrats.
These were the same voters who gave the Democratic candidates the early double-digit leads of 10, 12, 14, 16 percentage points over the Republicans before overnight everything swung back in the Republicans' favor when they started counting day of ballots that were cast in person. Many of those folks, overwhelming number of those folks, were Republicans.
All right, moving on, let's check out what else we're seeing here. So Adrian Fontes, he is enjoying right now about a 5 percentage point lead over Mark Fincham.
Yeah, it's 4.8 percentage points. Earlier in the day, he was up 4.2. So you're getting the idea that the Democratic candidates gained about 0.5, 0.6 percentage points with this ballot drop. Adrian Fontes, so far, outside the treasurer race, is the biggest vote getter on the Democratic side in this election.
And moving to the Attorney General race, so this is interesting. You have another flip. Chris Mays, we believe, is up by just a few votes. We thought it looks like more now. So she's at 50.1%. Abraham Hamadeh at 49.9%.
Yeah, she's up 0.2. They were tied, and it looks like she is up by 4,000 votes, which is fairly significant considering earlier she was down by about double digits, maybe single digits.
The feeling at the Democratic headquarters last night was their leads were fragile. They knew that even though they were up 10 to 13 percentage points in many cases, that the real test would begin today and into Thursday and Friday, and you can see why they knew this would happen. And there still is a big question, though, about what profile of voters turned out in Pima County. That's a mixture of some liberal voters in the Tucson area, more conservative voters in southern Pima County. There's a big batch of votes we're still waiting from Pima that we'll get over the next couple of days. And then, of course, the largest from Maricopa.
And just to finish on that Chris Mays Abe Hamida race, when this day started, Abe Hamida was up 0.2 percentage points. Chris Mays is now up 0.2 percentage points, so a 0.4 percentage point swing. That's where we're at right now. We expect, as we get bigger ballot releases, reports, you might see larger swings than we're seeing now. And I do want to add something to what Joe was saying about the mood at Democratic headquarters, because I will tell you, Katie Hobbs last night at her high point had a lead of 186,000 votes. If you had told Democrats, including people on her campaign probably, that she would be up 186,000 votes after the first ballot drop of the night at 8 p.m. and a little after that, they would have probably said, I think we have a good chance of winning this thing.
Yeah.
Because I was speaking with people earlier in the day who were saying, if we're up 120, 140, 160, I think we're in great shape. And boom, that just vanished overnight.
And of course, it's all about turnout. And what Bianca Bono is now reporting is that what could pose an even bigger threat for the Democrats who are worried about their leads and what will happen. We thought there were 275,000 ballots that had been dropped off on Election Day. That number is actually now 290,000. A massive amount of drop-off ballots on Election Day. Those are people who decided ahead of time to fill out their ballots at home, and then they wanted to personally put them in the tabulation machines or in the box.
So this is where it gets interesting, because I know the campaigns have been spending today trying to figure out who these voters are.
Who are they? Yes.
In the light of the new behaviors we've seen by voters over the last, in 2020 and in this cycle. And given that, and I'm wondering myself, and given that we've heard the Republicans say either mail your ballot in well beforehand or show up on Election Day and cast a ballot. Don't drop off your ballot. So that's the message that's been sent to Republicans.
Okay.
And I wonder if there are a lot of Democrats in that bunch, because that's been part of their behavior. That's an interesting point,
because you're saying these weren't people that were putting the ballots into the tabulation machine. They were dropping them off.
You can bring your early ballot to a vote center and just drop it in a basket.
Okay.
And you're done.
Okay. That's something that Republicans did not trust. They were saying, show up in person, go through the process, and put that thing in the machine. And that's why there was also so much concern when there were problems with tabulation machines early on yesterday. So you're right. I mean, I guess there is a big question.
And the other reason not to drop your early ballot into a bin on the day of is it takes longer to count those early ballots, right? These now are the late earlies from the weekend that weren't processed. So 2 days after the election, tomorrow, we're likely, I think, well, as you're saying, to get those ballots cast the day of. Took 2 days. Republicans, their mantra is, we want results election night.
You're right.
And so that does not accomplish the task. And we've seen Republican voters pretty much fall in line with the instructions they're getting. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but based on what we're hearing.
You just got to wonder if that 290,000 is going to be a hammer. If it's skewed heavily Republicans, boom, it could just cause a sweep. But if it's a mix, then we could see some really interesting things happening. If it's a surprise and leans Democrat, then we could see some upsets.
But don't forget, 290,000 is about half of what's left.
About half of what's
Little
left.
over
You're
half
right,
of
because
what's
he's
left.
still.
So there's still, you know, when we start getting down to Thursday and Friday, we do a lot of math to figure out how many ballots are left, and are there enough ballots left for candidate A to overcome his deficit against candidate B.
Right.
And there is a formula for that, you know. It's 2x plus the deficit equals the total number of ballots left.
Oh, you're serious?
I'm dead serious.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
this is algebra, folks. You think this job is easy? No, this is algebra.
Speaking of math, I think I got a B- in school. Let's look at the top educator in the state, Kathy Hoffman, defending her seat right now against Tom Horn, who wants to return as superintendent. And it's going to be a tough go for Hoffman if she's able to defend that seat right now, 49.8%. What a couple of years Kathy Hoffman has been through with the pandemic and all of the stressors on the education system, from school boards to teachers to administration. We also know she had a child in the last couple of years. And I saw her and her husband last night. Always perfectly calm, cool, and collected is Kathy Hoffman in any situation I've noticed over the years as I've interviewed her and talked to her. And so she seemed just relaxed and ready to accept whatever would happen. So that'll be an interesting race to watch develop, as well as it is so close.
And I'll point out one thing again here too. Kathy Hoffman cut the deficit by 0.4 of a percentage point. She was down 11,000 votes. She's now down less than 8,000. I'll also point out one last thing.
Okay.
I believe all of these races are now within the recount zone.
So
I think the governor won. No, the Fontes and Kelly aren't. I should take that back. But the governor won, AG, and this one I think are the recount zone, because the deficit is 0.5 of a percent, or the margin, I should say, is 0.5 of a percent or less.
it was one of the
Automatic recounts.
the new election integrity laws passed by the legislature. They moved that percentage higher to demand recounts to ensure that elections are correct. So yeah, we could see more than one recount when it's all said and done.
Be fair here, take a last look at the treasurer's race. Get that in?
We can.
Okay, we're working on it.
They're working on it. And we don't expect another dump tonight from the counties.
Well, smaller counties, there are about 50,000 ballots among the smaller counties. It's possible they just randomly update.
Okay.
Although
So maybe
Pinell County is among those smaller counties. Pinell, a Republican stronghold, so votes from there would be significant.
Okay. So could see some releases, but don't expect anything major for the rest of the evening. Going to state treasurer, as you see Kimberly Yee defending her seat, she is at a comfortable 55.7% in that race.
A down-ballot race, and she is the biggest vote getter among the statewide candidates. More than 1 million votes for Kimberly Yee, Dave.
She was hoping to be governor and then eventually dropped out. Did not get that coveted Trump endorsement that many Republicans were trying to get. All right, if you want to see the latest updates to the results as the numbers come in, right now you can just pull out your phone and point your camera towards the QR code on your screen. That will take you directly to the election results page on our website, 12news.com, where you will be able to see the latest numbers for local and national races. And if you want some more algebra lessons from Bram, just send him an email. How much an hour?
I don't know. Did I get that formula right? 2x plus the deficit equals the total number of votes left, uncounted ballots.
Yeah.
Try it sometime.
So tutoring is also available.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for joining us. More coverage of Decision 2022 coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. And then, of course, we'll be up bright and early tomorrow morning as well. Have a good evening.